Hello world, and welcome to A Beginner's Guide to CSS Part 1, How to Add Styling. My name is Micro, and today we will be building upon the HTML site created in my video, A Beginner's Guide to HTML. So if you'd like to use the same base for this tutorial, be sure to check out that video first. Now, let's begin development. Here is the HTML page we created last time, and here's what it looks like in a browser. As you can see, it looks rather plain due to no styling. To start off with, I'll be adding a background color to the rectangle div. Today, I'll be showing you 3 ways to do styling. The first way is to add the styling inline with the HTML. We can do this by adding the attribute style to the div tag. When you press enter in Visual Studio Code, style will be followed by the equal symbol and 2 double quotation marks. This is how HTML attributes are defined. If you are not using Visual Studio Code, please ensure that you include the equals and 2 double quotation marks after any HTML attribute. Within the double quotation marks, I will type background, color, and specify the hexadecimal color with the value #9F0080, See how that color is recognized and displayed there? Let's save our work and go back to our opened HTML page in Firefox and press Ctrl and F5. And voila! There's our background color for the rectangle div. Inline HTML styling is fine if you don't have much styling to do. However, if you find yourself repeating the same styling over and over again for each element, this can become very inefficient. Let's get ready for the second method of styling by removing the HTML inline styling. The second way of styling is to add a style tag within the head tag, like so. Within the style tag, let's create what's called a class selector. We define a class selector by providing a leading full stop and giving the class a name. I will call mine rectangle. Now let's finish off the class selector with an open and close bracket. Any styling in here will be applied to the HTML element with the rectangle class selector. Now let's add the styling we added before, which was background, color, #9F0080, Now let's save our work and reload the page in Firefox with Ctrl and F5. We see here that the background color is gone. This is because when you use class selectors, you must apply the class to the HTML elements you wish to use the styling against. With that, let's head back to Visual Studio Code, locate the rectangle div, and add a new attribute, class. Within the quotation marks, let's put the name of our class selector. Do you remember what it is? Rectangle! That's right! When we reference a class selector in our HTML tags, we do not need to lead with the full stop. We just reference the name. Let's save our work and reload our HTML page. Ta-da! And that's a second way we can style elements. If you choose to become a web developer, or find that your HTML page is growing too large due to the number of elements you're styling, it is best practice to separate your styling from your HTML. This is the third way to add styling. Within Visual Studio Code, add a new folder and call it CSS. Within the folder, create a file. I'm going to call mine my.css. Please ensure that the .css is at the end of the file name so it's recognized as a CSS file. Now navigate back to our HTML file. Highlight the rectangle class and press Ctrl X to cut the text out of our HTML page. Remove the style tag completely and save your work. If you navigate back to our HTML page in Firefox and refresh, you should see that the styling for the rectangle div is now gone, as we have removed the styling. Go back to Visual Studio Code and open our new CSS file and press Ctrl and V to paste our clipboard cutting and save. Now we have our first CSS file ready to go. The last thing we need to do as part of this process is to link the CSS file back to our HTML page. To do that, go back to our HTML file, and in the head, let's create a new tag called link. The first link attribute we must define is the relationship of the link to the HTML page using the rel attribute. To link a CSS file, we specify the relationship as stylesheet. Next, we need to identify the location of the CSS file using the attribute href. By starting off with the // we can use Visual Studio Code to complete the path to the CSS file via the folder CSS. Let's save, open Firefox, and refresh the page. Yay! It worked! Now you know how to create and link a CSS file for styling. In part 2 of the CSS series of videos, we will be looking at adding and styling custom fonts to give our website a unique look and feel. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Until then, this is Micro, logging out.